So we're very humble in the fact that we knew we didn't know anything apart from wanting to save the world.
Welcome to the Underground Podcast. I'm Kate, the gardener guru, horticulture consultant and writer and presenter on all things gardening.
And I'm Phil, co-founder of Right O'Bara, a creative marketing agency for the home and garden sectors. Join us in conversation with those people shaping the UK's garden care industry.
So without further ado,
let's get down and dirty. Hi there, Kate.
Hi, Phil.
Well, it's been a while. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Gosh, goodness me, it's been a long time, hasn't it, since we've been up and running. So it's good to see your face, and we've got some really good guests coming up this series. I'm really looking forward to getting going.
Yeah, it's been a shame, really. We've taken quite such a long break, but life happens. And
it absolutely does.
And this is where we are. So, but I am so excited that we're back. And as you say, we've got some fantastic guests lined up.
We certainly have.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about who we've got on today's show?
So on today's show, we have got a wonderful woman. She is called Dr Ana Attlee, and she is the co-founder of the very first Seedball company, and they are the original Seedball. And she is just an absolute ball of positive energy and just such an inspiring woman to listen to, the things she gets up to. And, we first met them at Glee at the NEC, because they do stock an awful lot of their products in garden centres. So very pertinent to the trade, but also pertinent to the world we live in today. So I think this is a great conversation. She's a real inspiration.
Absolutely. And what I love is the fact that I met them independently from you.
That's
you
right.
met them. Yeah. And then we both got together and went, they'd be brilliant to have on the show.
Absolutely. So, well, I remember Seedball when they first started, because I used to make, we used to call them seed bombs. I used to make them with kids, get mucky, put in some flower seeds and off they'd go, let them dry. And we used to make jokes about, we could pretend to your parents that they're kind of muesli bars and, energy balls to eat and things like that. So they've always had a real kind of close place in my heart. So it's just wonderful that a company has been able to make a business out of this, but also do an awful lot of good from it as well.
Yeah, and we've talked in the past quite extensively, not just about peat-free, but about sustainability within gardening, and the importance of it. And I think today's interview with Dr. Ana has just exemplified that. It's sort of made it really heightened where we are and what still needs to be done.
Absolutely. And, I think for us, Phil, as you said, we really are, because we got together over peat-free.
We did.
That's kind of how we met in the industry. And it is very close to our hearts. And sustainability, for me especially, is a really big thing. And I just think sometimes our industry can forget that sometimes, or it can just be lip service. So it's great to talk to somebody who it's not just lip service, it's a real thing. They really are doing it, and it's positive what they're doing.
Exactly. It's so clear that it's in her DNA. It's amazing. So I hope that you as a listener enjoy this episode as much as we've enjoyed the conversation, because it really is something else. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we're delighted to welcome onto the show Dr. Ana Attlee, who is one of the co-founders of Seedball. Welcome, Ana.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you. So, Ana, I'm just going to go straight into it. So, for anyone who hasn't come across Seedball before, can you explain to us all what it is?
So really simple. A simpler way really to grow wildflowers from seed. It's wildflower seeds mixed with compost, clay and chili pepper powder in a tiny ball about 1 centimetre. And you simply throw them into your garden and let flowers grow from them.
Fantastic. And it's peat-free compost?
Absolutely, peat-free compost is the only way to go.
Just very quickly there, you mentioned chili powder. Now, obviously, that's not to make it taste better for us. Is there a reason you use chili powder?
Yeah, so the chili powder is a top tip for anybody actually who's out there that's struggling with ants and slugs and snails and things like that. Chili is a really, really great deterrent for you to put over. Well, it protects the seeds from being taken, but also it does help them a little bit when they start to sprout. Wildflowers are just notoriously slow growing, and they are, once they're in that very slow growth stage, they're really vulnerable. So most of the growing has to be kind of protected when they're at that stage, so that they can get to the next bit when they're really hardy. They're really great in a drought. They're really great in all conditions, don't need that much watering, don't need that much attention. But it's that first little stage. So the chili powder actually gets rid of them. And that came from some research, actually, because I was a researcher before. There was a couple of people in my department in Aberdeen University the same time presenting research on chili powder. So there was one person that was trying to deter elephants from coming and taking crops with chili. I was like, this is cool. And then there was somebody else that was using chili powder also as a kind of protection of crops, so seed, and that was stopping ants and insects and stuff like that. And I was like, this could be the perfect addition to Seedballs, because we'd started doing that from a permaculture research I did, and we had at the beginning lots and lots of pots of them growing, so we added it in to see if that would help us protect them.
Wonderful, because I've heard it used with squirrels, against squirrels, when I used to work for parks and we used to plant thousands of crocus bulbs. And the squirrels would just follow us behind, digging them all up. So I know but I didn't know about slugs and other insects. So I'm going to try that because I'm having real issues with slugs at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to get
It's like a slug apocalypse. When they come en masse. And
Armageddon,
it's just
Slug-ageddon.
Yes, Slugmageddon. I feel like it's if you really do have a problem, then you will also need to sprinkle a bit more chili on top of the Seedballs, because there are so many. Okay. But if it's just you have standard slug problems, it really does keep them away and give them a head start. But squirrels in themselves can also be interesting, because they sometimes take them and then sort of spit them out when they realise it's not anything that they are nut, and it also tastes a bit rotten. So they're kind of our distribution system, unofficial.
Okay, interesting.
So you mentioned about wildflowers and the Seedballs there to grow wildflowers. What sort of varieties are you actually growing through Seedballs?
Lots and lots now. Lots and lots is the answer. And we started out with just perennials. Okay. Very, very much from a conservation background we are. So we started out with perennials for bees, butterflies, and what was our last? I think we had urban meadow. So we had three in our first mixes. And over time, we realised that some people wanted to focus on poppies and oxeye daisy and cornflowers. So they came in.
The classic,
Yeah, and then we worked with a Natural History Museum and developed mixes with them for bats to attract moths, and for birds. So there was seed for them to feed on. And we've, what else do we do with them? Also beetles. So other pollinators that are less well known. And over time, we've just continued to expand so that we've pretty much any single species that you'd want. There's a wildflower, we do. And lots of different mixes now.
Okay. Oh, and what size pack do the Seedballs come in?
Again, they started off always in a little tin, and we have and there was about 100 seeds per ball, and now we've whittled it down a lot more. So I think there's about 20 to 50 per ball, and about 20. And then we've now got grab bags, which are big ones, can have 100 Seedballs in, 500 Seedballs in, and we have smaller kind of packets where we have like 15 in them, and tubes, and lots of different sizes. And I don't know if you can see actually. So that's like the original size.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And so what sort of area would something like that? Would you do them all at the same time, or would you just put a couple in?
Well, it depends on the area that you want to cover. So we started off very much the concept of Seedball was trying to get everybody to be able to grow wildflowers no matter where they lived. And so each seed ball you need about 10 centimetre diameter, really. So you're going to put 10 centimetres kind of between them, evenly spaced. They will spread out and create kind of cottage garden type effect from that. So really, the answer is if you've got one pot, you probably just need 3. And expand it out from there. We've got hanging baskets with them in. I used to do with the kids tin can planters, and that was just one little one in, and then with tumbling bird's foot trefoil coming down, and they would hang that on the fence. Yeah. So it really started from as small as you can, make a little bee pit stop cafe. If you've got a big meadow, then you can use a big grab bag and have 500 and spread that out. We can do bulk ones as well. We do even bigger sometimes, but all for gardens. Yeah.
Wonderful. I remember when guerrilla gardening started, and people would use the seed balls and seed bombs, they used to call them, didn't they? And throw them in derelict kind of areas. And it was such a great concept. Anyway, Phil, shall we carry on?
So Anna, you mentioned that you have a research background, and I know that you and Emily, your co-founder from Seedball, met while you were at university. Was that up in Aberdeen? Is that right?
We did. It's a nice story actually for Seedball. In Aberdeen University, it's a national scheme. There's the National Environment Research Council. Have a scheme where they encourage people who have got PhDs, they're early career researchers. So you've just got your PhD, or you're nearly at the end of that, or you're doing your postdoctoral research, and they gather you together. And they try and you do like a terrifying amount of business training in a weekend. It was an MBA in a weekend. More not that much, but it felt like it. We were there from very early in the morning. I think we were finishing each day about 1 a.m. as well. It was insane.
That's intense.
And then like Dragon's Den competition at the end.
Right.
We found in that, you know what, business could change the world. Business really could make the biggest difference in the world if it's done right. I don't have to ask for any funding from anybody. I'll never have to apply for a grant anymore. I'm not going to be writing papers that no one's going to read. I can write blog posts that people can read. Like I could actually have a difference, like make a difference in the world. And so we went out of this and went, why don't we do this? Let's just do this. Like it's how hard can it be? Famous last words. But and we went in and had this idea because I was doing permaculture on the side from my research. I did a permaculture course, which I absolutely loved, and I was doing research with Professor Mark Reed that we were talking about earlier on peat-free. So he was with the IUCN on peatlands, and we were also looking at nature reserves. And we were trying to work with government to advise them to create more spaces for nature. And no one was listening to us. So no one was listening to my kind of research that I was writing on. So this was where the idea kind of came from. This is where we met. And then we had these huge strengths together that didn't really overlap. So Em's never wanted to go over my side doing stuff, and I've never really wanted to go over hers, and we've just agreed, that's been
love that.
Amazing. Yeah.
A great partnership. Yeah. So one of the kind of clever things about seed balls is that it makes kind of big environmental issues, which we know can feel a bit overwhelming, but you make them feel manageable. Was that part of the intention, or did that kind of just develop organically?
It was the intention. I'm so glad you see that. That was it from the start, that some things when everything feels so large in the environment and we feel so insignificant, this is actually something that you can truly save a lot of the ecosystem by something as simple as planting wildflowers and planting for bees, because of the way that the ecosystem works and because of how simple that is, that we wanted to create something that meant that everyone could feel they can make a difference, and not just feel they can make a difference, they actually will make a difference. We get sent photos all the time. Here's my seed ball patch. Here's a bee on it. I've just been sent some from Pollinator Pathways in Wandsworth, and they were like, "Oh, we threw down some cornflowers, and here's 2 goldfinches feeding on it."
Oh, wow.
And it
Lovely.
gives me goosebumps because it's as simple as that. Put down the flowers. It was a bee desert out there when we started this. There was garden centres were not like they are today. It felt like it was just all. I used to think of them as plastic flowers, nothing for the bees, nothing for the pollinators. It was beautiful. But I remember trying to look myself for I want my garden with butterflies and bees. And I'm a really bad gardener. So I'm totally the opposite of you. I am a terrible gardener. I really tried. It's like, I need something for me that's easy to grow, needs no skill and no time, and will bring wildlife back. And I couldn't find it. So that's part of why we created it. And instant, they came back. They come back. We've just got, I've just moved house, and they bought an ex-HMO that was concreted over. There's pictures actually on our Instagram. I bought, we got it's the front and the back was concreted. And the first thing to do obviously was, front garden, back garden. Front garden is fully seedballed, and it's just covered in bees and butterflies. And
fantastic.
Nothing from being done, I think, was February.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
That's amazing.
They'll build it and they will come, isn't it?
Build it and they'll come. And then you know what else is amazing about it? Because I was social and ecological scientist, is that my research a lot was on pro-environmental behaviour. So how do you encourage other people to care? And it's a lot about them seeing other people doing it and feeling part of that kind of community. So the decision to do the front garden is my neighbours. I get to know all my neighbours, and then they will say, "Oh, I quite like to have some flowers in my garden." And the guy who's walking his dog, and it's a knock-on effect that can be
definitely.
So yeah.
Wonderful.
So can we just touch on what the actual issues are that Seedball's there trying to address? I mean, you mentioned that, that we were losing habitats or was more of a desert for wildflowers. So can you just explain that? Because you've obviously done a lot of research and you understand this subject really well. So it'd be really good to understand what it is that Seedball's trying to alleviate or, to return.
Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as saving the bees. So if you just want it all distilled, it's that. We have lost 97. Well, there's 2 stats here I can give you. The latest is actually 99% of all of our wildflower meadows. But the most commonly cited is 97%. So we're somewhere between that of how much. Massive. It's giant. It's huge. I mean, and I think a few of us have seen that figure out there, and it almost seems too big. It's huge. So we have lost that much of wildflower meadows. We've also lost nearly all of our front gardens in London and lots of other places around. It's paved over. We're losing all of this space, and that in itself causes an instant knock-on effect of losing bees. And lots of us have heard about the loss of bees, and then the impact on our smallest, kind of most important creatures. So this idea was coupled with me coming across some research about, I told you we're looking at the national parks research. I also came across a stat that the gardens at the time, our gardens cover an area that's larger than all of our national nature reserves combined. So I was like, well, if that is the case, what would happen if people just grew a little bit for wildlife? If they just popped in one small patch for bees, and what would happen is you would save bees. And not only would you save bees, you would bring in the other pollinators, like the moths, which would then bring in the bats, which would then bring in the birds that then feed on them, which you've then got a whole system restored in the simplest way. So, at its basic, save bees, save the world.
Simple as that.
It's so simple. Yeah,
it's so simple, and we can all do it. Also, even if you have a balcony, you don't even need a garden.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've done that. I've planted wildflower seeds in a big container, plastic tub truck, and they're growing so well. And I'm the only balcony on my street with any plants on it, and I'm hoping it will have that knock-on effect that other people will see it and it looks pretty and it's full of life. So I'm hoping that my neighbours will copy.
I'm so sure people will see that. We started out with a balcony and just balcony little pots that hang on the railings. So, Seedball's been tested in those incredibly shallow, very cheap pots that you can get that hang on the railings.
Absolutely.
And the drain pipe pots, the whole of the thing, every single product has been tested in the smallest of space up to it.
Brilliant.
And that idea that other people will see that, I think it really does happen because it brings happiness. It brings colour back.
Oh my goodness, it's colour, isn't it? And colours make people happy. It really does. Yeah, definitely. So I'm just going to talk just quickly about we talk about native wildflowers. Is that what you are talking about, rather than other kind of bee-friendly plants that people plant in their garden that aren't particularly native?
So in answer, are we talking about native wildflowers? We are talking about native wildflowers.
Right.
We started with native wildflowers, and we started out very firmly in the camp of perennials, which are the slowest but the most impact kind of ones to grow. The reason that happened is simply because it was the easiest at that point for bees. That without actually seeing, all right, so we're going to research all this. Wildflowers are going to help bees. Our native plants will help native species, and it's a no-brainer. So it just started out there because we were the first. So we were the first Seedball product in the UK. It so happens that people have followed in our footsteps, and that's great because it's disrupted the industry and it's really exciting, right? So I'm like excited by it. It's huge, and we led the way, and I'm like, yeah. And it so happens that they've all just decided to be native. And why? I ask them. We chose that because we were the first. We chose that because we wanted the biggest difference, which was the easiest no-brainer. That's going to help bees. Right. We are going to expand into more bee-friendly plants, into more pollinator-friendly plants. It's not that we're against them, because we're a garden product. Sometimes people are like, we didn't ever go the guerrilla gardening way because we really wanted conservation people to be on our side, and they have always, at the start, they were very cautious of us, and they were like, don't put anything non-native here, or then these may be native to Cumbria but not to here. And I mean, there's a bit of nitpicking going on in conservation, given the world is actually in a disaster. That's a separate issue there. Okay, mate. I get that. But we are a gardening product, and the whole purpose is to garden, to help the ecosystem and help wildlife and help people grow more easily. And in itself, native wildflowers are hard to grow. And some of the plants that have been cultivated by garden centres, their seeds are grown. Like they're made to grow really quickly. They're made to do this. And we have a disadvantage because ours are just native. And they're not made to perform on command and germinate when you want. They're just our native plants. So, in many ways, other bee-friendly ones might be easier, quicker.
Can I just ask you a quick question about the manufacturing process? Has that evolved as you've sort of grown as a business?
Yeah, we used to hand roll them.
Yeah, that's why I thought that might be the case.
Yeah, we used to hand roll them. I mean, I can't talk too much about it because I think it's pretty much like our little Coca-Cola secret recipe thing. We sort of protect a bit. Yeah. But I'm quite specific about.
But you're not doing it in the kitchen anymore.
No. So we're in London. We're in London, and we're in the Haringey kind of warehouse district, which is amazing. Really sustainable location. So we've got a really nice. In fact, it's nice when you run your own place because you can be super ethical and make sure you're paying everybody really well. You're doing all the really good stuff. So that side of things has been great. But manufacturing started out with hand rolling. And evolved from there. So I mean, we set ourselves a massive task to take on something that never really existed and then just be like, let's create this on scale. And talking to people that could manufacture for us machinery to help us. They were like, you're doing what? What do you want? And I'm like, oh no, it needs to be exactly 1 centimetre, perfect spherical situation, because that is based on experiments. I'm such a nerd. We're nerds, we're academics. It needs to be 1 centimetre. It needs to be a sphere for optimum breakdown with minimum effort. And deviation from that actually changes the whole thing. So yeah, it's quite funny. It's quite specific.
Excellent. No, that sounds really good. So coming back to conservation, and we were talking about why you're doing these things. So there can be a danger that conversations around biodiversity can become quite gloomy and feel, as Kate said, feel quite overwhelming. How do you keep that message hopeful without sort of underplaying that seriousness of the problem?
Interesting. Well, inherently, it's always been hopeful, right?
Okay.
So even though it feels doom and gloom, I feel like that's a lot of what we've been fed always. It's the same, doom and gloom. And one thing from being in business is how empowering it is to do something that everybody who's supported Seedball has really supported something massive. They've all played a role in us being able to donate to schools and schools and community gardens and scouts and etc. That is not doom and gloom, that we're reached out to all the time by schools that want a wildflower section, by community groups that want to improve their streets, by people who are opening up the backs of their terraces, and all the lanes are now filled with flowers and wildlife. And over time, there is a huge movement to planting roadsides much more for wildflowers, and that's something that we started campaigning for at the very beginning of Seedball. And I see it all the time, roundabouts now are filled with wildflowers. It wasn't there before. I used to harp on trying to get people involved on our roadsides for wildflowers, and that they're approaching us more. And train stations, I see pots of wildflowers at train stations now. That wasn't there. That is there now. And it's in the psyche of everybody that it's not unacceptable to have wildflowers like my garden, where there's like an abundant madness of wildflowers. They don't see that as weeds. And I see that as a huge change. And I do see that a lot, and I see that I work, I was a scout leader. I was saying before, cubs, beavers and little ones. Hope never changes with any generation, with any child. They want to be with Earth, so at any one moment, the whole thing can change. And with something simple like this, we can change it any moment, the message is there. Social media can be quite a good thing as well. Everyone says there's negatives, but we have a voice. We can get out there and share. I can spend my Seedball money on boosting posts that say buy my product, or I could say also I boost my posts on things that say grow for birds or put in a pond, and it's absolutely nothing to do with Seedball, but it's part of our bigger mission. And that people care, people respond really well to that. Also, another thing that's positive is a strange one for you.
Okay.
We drove to Cornwall not too long ago, and arrived, and the windscreen was just covered in flies again. And that's been years. It's been years since that happened. And the kids were like, well, what's that? And I was like, welcome to what happened in my childhood more, So there's something happening that isn't doom and gloom out there. There's definitely something. And the fact that everyone's voting for their favourite butterfly, and you can see at our money, what can we feature wildlife? And I think there is positives there.
Oh, that's
Brilliant.
great.
You're talking about all the wonderful things you do, but you are a business. So how does that kind of balance to actually making it commercially viable with all the kind of the other work you do?
It's a great question. We were talking about this morning, me and Em. It's been our biggest challenge, right?
Sure.
Because we are not business people, although we did that business training.
That's a weekend.
And a few bits and here and there. But because our whole aim of Seedball has always been mission-led, the actual business side of things has been things where people have had to coach us. And we had PhD supervisors, so we brought in a business coach to help us and tell us off and say, you need to pay attention to this on your bottom line and this. And we've learned as we've gone, really, and have definitely... I feel we've been at a big advantage, to not do business as usual. The business has grown organically in the same way that we would say Seedballs would grow organically.
Yes.
Gone slowly. We've learned from our customers. We've learned from people we've employed. People we've employed have taught us things. We've changed our practices based on... So we're very much a flexible office space. We employ a lot of parents. We employ a lot of people who are caring for people. It's just come naturally. And, when we first got stocked in garden centres, in shops, we got stocked because it was a customer that was online. It was Twitter back in the day. And it was the shop that approached us. And then it was up in Aberdeen. So we had the first shop that approached us. And then we were like, oh, how does this all work then? Tell us how this... And they did. And then we kind of went from there.
Excellent.
We built a team around us that helped us now with sales, which help us with more of the PR. We have an amazing PR team. So we've kind of grown that. And when we first launched Seedball, we launched it where you were buying one seed ball for 20p.
Oh,
I was at the London Green Fair. Not very commercial, but we sold them outside. I think it was like Waitrose in North London, and we saved up our money, and then we went to a product designer and then paid them to help us design the product and explain what it was. We've bootstrapped it. We've never grown with any investment. We started with nothing, and then everything was word of mouth.
Right. So Anna, you mentioned there about going to product designer and getting the product more professionally put together, as it were. So how important has packaging and the storytelling been in helping people to understand the product? Yeah,
this has been huge and grown over time. So we started out with the tin, which the product designers helped us with. Thankfully, because we wouldn't have had that skills. And over time, it's evolved so that we have different sizes of packaging and illustrations of the flowers on front, which we didn't start with.
Okay.
And then we moved to the point where, we have a hand that shows you scattering and water falling on it and flowers coming. And this is all through people that know much more than us and have basically helping us translate, I suppose, research into how people can really easily see what this product is. And we've added point of sale boxes, which also explain what we're doing and give much more a visual representation of what the design is, and have hanging packs of seed balls, which also show the flowers. And we worked with amazing illustrators on to help us and to translate, because it did start out and it was simply a seed ball kind of exploded diagram was what we started out.
Right.
Not really any reference to flowers at all.
That's quite scientific.
It was very scientific.
Yeah.
And it's just, we've come so far. I don't even think I've got an original one with me, but they all have flowers on now. And also the animals that they're supposed to help, which is helpful. So we've got the bees on, and we have different mixes now for different species of bees specifically. So they're all shown on the packaging.
Fantastic.
I think I've still got an original tin, actually.
Yay!
From many years ago. Yeah.
They were just so obviously made by scientists, even though we had these designers in. It's how a scientist might do a product.
Right.
Yeah.
And over time, we've come so far. I'm very proud of us. Our latest ones are with like the Royal Entomological Society, and they just have these stunning illustrations, and we're just so proud of them. And we're like, wow, yeah, this is now the way. But
well, the thing is, the product is a thing of beauty, isn't it? The final product is so beautiful that it should look beautiful, to start with. So
And we worked with Kew Gardens. We learned from everybody, so we're very humble in the fact that we knew we didn't know anything apart from wanting to save the world. So when Kew Gardens, we were stocked there, they tested our seed balls and they're like, oh yeah, no, they work. We want to stock you. We've had an amazing relationship with them.
That's great.
They've been really beautiful with us, and they sent us what designs they wanted for their seed balls.
Okay.
Like, oh yeah, that makes sense why you've done it like that. Like we were like, yeah, this is really great. And we started to see how we're in collaboration with people, how they were designing their packaging, how they were explaining things. And then Kew would say to us, oh, will you do a point of sale, or will you do a poster? And we'd come away and speak to designers and work with other people. So it's all been very much a co-produced business in a weird way. Yeah.
How long has the seed ball actually been around?
So we started in 2011.
Okay.
And then we started as our little hand-rolled seed balls in 2011. And that was at London Green Fair that summer, I think. And we had our friend Karen come and help roll them.
Right.
Shout out to you, Karen. And poor woman, she came down to visit, and I don't think she expected to be doing that. And then we launched the tins properly in 2012. And from there on, really. But we started out as Project Maya. We started out as a community interest company.
Right.
And then Seedball was a spin-out from that. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you about that. So I know you wear a number of different hats. So can you just tell us a little bit about Project Maya and maybe some of the other things that you're involved in? Because it's fascinating, but...
My background is very strange. Yeah, I agree. But it all makes sense if you just come to the point of thinking this is a person who's a scientist, I suppose, who's doing lots of experiments on how to make an impact, I suppose, in the world. So we started with Project Maya, and Project Maya is a community interest company. And it's run campaigns. It started out with the Peat Free Pledge, and that was inspired with Professor Mark Reed, whose work we've mentioned before on IUCN, and we brought in big names into that. So there was even Vivienne Westwood supported that campaign. A number of people. Yeah, it was big at the time because really wanting to raise the profile of how our peatlands are important. And how long they take to restore. I mean, this message so well.
Oh, yes.
So that was the first campaign and the first thing Project Maya ever did. But its aim has always been to buy land.
Okay.
And Seedball was a spin-off to make money to buy land. And we now have bought land. So, we've bought our first nature reserve, and that is on the Devon-Cornwall border.
Right.
It's amazing. So the profits of Seedball span out and is a limited company, but Project Maya is a shareholder.
Right.
So its shares are then used to buy land, which is really exciting. So that's how that all kind of links in. Is essentially we are shareholders. Project Maya is making land, and it allows Seedball to be a proper company instead of quite so. I guess quite so me and Emily and conservation based. It allows it to be a little bit more commercial. And then in my side quest, it does make sense. It's gone property wise, is that I was in the geography department at the University of St Andrews.
Right.
And sitting next to me was the housing people. And they were working on the housing crisis. So I have also got a side quest hat if anyone ever comes and finds me, which is all based on emergency housing. And housing homeless. So I don't know if that's what you meant by my other side of it. Yeah, because it's really not the norm.
It's not, but it's fascinating. And I think it goes down to the DNA, that you have of looking around you and wanting to solve problems that you see.
Yeah, there's a quote that said, I don't know why, I get this wrong, I don't know why somebody doesn't do something about that. And then I realised I am somebody.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
Yeah, I thought about that for such a long time. And I was like, I am somebody, and I might not, and I might be small, but I can make a difference, and I can make my difference where I am, and then just see where it expands out to. So that has expanded out into, creating wildflowers everywhere, and buying some land, and housing homeless and people fleeing domestic violence, and now sort of training people to get involved in that. Mm-hmm. And also, another one as well, which is also I should mention, I have a Fast Track Impact, which is a company that I started with Mark Reed on how you create impact in the world. So it's training academics on how to take their research and turn that into real world impact, whether that's for impact case studies in universities or increasingly, I think, to commercial. So yeah, that's 4 directions are they all make sense, and they're all about trying to save the world.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but also you're providing habitat for wildlife, but also you're providing habitat for people. So that kind of emerges. Yeah.
Well, you're right. We can't. I mean, and it also goes back to pro-environmental behaviour, I suppose, is that people can't care about something bigger than themselves if they're in a state of crisis.
Yeah.
So I think that's also why Seedball, we tried to get a price point as low as possible, and that's been an interesting blend commercially, because we are British based, ethically produced, everything's sustainable. Yeah, but we want the entry point to be as low as possible. So that's been interesting. So yeah, because people, and that's why we do give them away free. For anyone who's community groups and or charities, they go for free, and then people can get refills if they send the packaging back.
Brilliant.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you've talked about Kew Gardens, who obviously are going to be very much behind what you're doing, but our podcast very much is primarily focused towards the garden trade, the industry, which involves garden centres. Yeah. So what role do you think garden centres can play in helping customers make more wildlife-friendly choices?
So garden centres, I cannot underestimate how important I think they are. And one of the main things we wanted when we started out with Seedball is to be a product that went in garden centres, because it was the garden centres that I went to first when I wanted to create a habitat. And it was the garden centres that I went to when I couldn't find the flowers that I wanted. They were the influence. They are the garden influencers. They're the places that I went to because I had followed my parents and my grandparents into garden centres. So I was like, there's where you create a garden. So they're your touch point. They are the ones that are transformative to each generation. And I go to garden centres a lot. Too much, the kids might say, I suppose. No, all the garden centres. There's lots of people that bring their kids there, that eat there, that go with their grandparents there for Sunday lunch. Our local Dobbies has kids clubs that they run, which are amazing, that get people involved. And over time, garden centres have started showing the perfect pollinators sign, and they showed that. So we put that on Seedball. We're like, perfect pollinators. This is great. The RHS sign that came up, amazing. And then they started adding in, we saw, are they stocking something that says more good for bees? And it expanded, and now they have like wildflower plug plants and wildflower seeds in all the sections. Yeah. It's really common for all garden centres to have hedgehog houses, and not just your bird tables, which we started out with years ago. They have sections for wildlife gardening, and that normalises it. And also normalises it to, we know the younger generation are going to care. But the older generation can be more against change. They were more that kind of for the manicured lawns and that kind of perfect look. It's changed ideas of people that perhaps might be set in their ways by seeing that garden centres are evolving and having these like wildlife friendly areas, there's wildflower areas, running events where they are including children and making seed balls. And it's not uncommon, for them to be centralizing themselves a little bit more in communities. My mother-in-law lives in a little tiny village. The place where everybody goes is the garden centre for their, their afternoon teas, their catch-up, their what. It's where they go. I think garden centres perhaps underestimate themselves how important they are in this whole thing. And that if they had more signs up talking about wildlife, I'd welcome that. I'd do that for them. It's huge. It would make a big difference. They do make a big difference already in how they've evolved, and they've been very open. And Seedball itself has quite a young following. And it's been great for us when we've worked with garden centres, where garden centres have said, it's brought in more people because you've got lots of people on social media and they're following you and they're going they know that we're stocked here. And it's been brilliant. Nice.
Excellent.
Oh, that's really good to hear.
Yeah. So I think that leads me nicely on to my next question, which is, what gives you hope for when you look at the future?
I suppose hope is always there, because I think everybody wants a world that's filled with something beautiful. The flowers, the birds, the bees, the butterflies, it's inherent, I've read that if you feel down, listen to 5 seconds of bird song, and the research says, that will lift your mood, because we are co-evolved with nature, and that signals we are safe as human beings if we hear bird song. So it gives me hope that it is such a normalised thing to have wildflowers in your garden, to care about nature. It is a normal thing to not have a manicured garden anymore, or to have a wildflower patch in anything. Could be even your church, like your local community centres, your schools. Like it's normal that there is a gardening club for wildlife or to care about it. Yes, I feel like there is a lot of hope out there. And as we grow as a company, there's more flowers that are out there, and there's more people that are doing this, and there's more people come into this sector and talk about this. Then it's just exponential. There's no negative to that,
I love that. I love that way of looking at things. So Anna, thank you so much for talking. I just want to end with a question pertinent to me. If every UK gardener could do one thing for nature, one thing for wildlife, say you were having to do a social media post and you're only allowed to do one kind of top tip, what would it be?
I mean, I have to say, grow wildflowers, don't I? I can't. I seed balls, everybody. No, I have to say, grow for the tiny things. Grow for the pollinators. That's it. In your tiny bit of the world, however small that may be, even if it's just a hanging basket or a windowsill, grow something for the tiny beings, because from that comes everything and connects us from city to countryside and to each other as a society.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Wonderful.
Well, listen, Anna, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable conversation. I've really enjoyed it and found it fascinating.
A real education.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been likewise really fun to talk about things and reflect on why we're doing what we're doing as well. Thanks.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, could I ask a small favour? Please take the time to review the show and share us with your colleagues. It really does make a difference and will help others to find us too. To keep up to date with the latest happening from the Underground, sign up to our email newsletter at theunderground.fm. I'm Kate Turner, the Gardener Guru. I'm a horticulturist, garden consultant and presenter. To find out more, check out my website at gardenerguru.co.uk.
And I'm Phil Wright, the founding partner of Wright O'Bara, a creative marketing agency specialising in the home and garden sectors. Find out more at wrightobara.com.